Hello, hello, my beautiful people, and welcome. I'm not going to state the channel because I don't know if you're watching this over at Bird Dog Investigations or if you're watching this on Mara Bird Inc. I'm so passionate about this subject that I really want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to get their paws on this information. So I decided, because it's not too much into the esoteric, and I think I try and keep the tarot readings over at Bird Dog and keep the rest of my life just, but I am a psychic medium. This is what I do, and this is a part of my everyday life. So I'm bringing you a little in, but this is also, this is so that you can use these tools on a daily basis. And I think you're going to be really surprised. And also, to all of my people that are out there that practice spiritual hygiene, if there's anything I missed, because I know there have, I've just been making a list over the year in my notions, and I was like, okay, I got the burden on my heart that it was time to make this video. And so I was just like, I'm sure I'm missing a ton more out there, especially when it comes to like spells and all that other stuff. I don't really know much about it. I did have a couple of things come up from some readers. I knew it was time for me to come out with the reading because I kept getting readings about like spiritual gifts and spiritual hygiene and different things that I'd never heard of. So I kind of went down the rabbit hole on some of the things because I'd never heard of them before. So yeah, we're just going to touch on to each one of them. And yeah, also for my peeps, when we're talking about doing long form, this is just like side note, but right now, as you can see, I'm doing a long form video. I want to teach you as we go along. So if you're watching on the Mara Bird Inc. side and you've watched my 31 streams of income, and you can learn how to monetize and really utilize all of your resources that you put into a long form video. The way I'm going to be trying to structure this is giving a bite-sized, go through the list and give a bite-sized whatever it is, so that I can cut that out of this video and make that into a short. Okay, so because I was wondering if I should make the whole video into shorts and then stitch it together. And I just didn't want to get out of the flow. And I might end up just doing that, period, and making these separate. But I think this is the goal, right? Because I told you 31 streams of income. The way I want to go about doing that is being able to use the carcass of everything, right? Cannibalize this whole video to be able to monetize it, right? And so one way I can do that is turn this into shorts. So I do have the list here. So I'm going to be kind of going through the like, this is what it is, blah, 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 blah. And then what's my experience with using it if I have not, or any research I've pulled up on it, even if I haven't. Okay. So that's really where we're going to be heading along with this. So yeah, let's dive in. So first off, we're going to go ahead and cleanse our space because the first thing on here is Palo Santo. So I'm really, really a big fan of smoke cleansing. And I did not really have an opportunity to do that because I was traveling for a really long time. And then I was doing, let's say, undercover missions, right? For private interested parties. Let's just put it that way. And so I wasn't really allowed to. There were some places, I was living in Airbnbs and, since 2018. And so I've been, Airbnbs and crash pads and all the other stuff when I was in aviation, but since 2020, Airbnbs exclusively. And so I was able to, I'm veering off. I wasn't able to cleanse my space with smoke because like you're in other people's homes. They generally don't like you setting fires. They don't like the smell of sage. They think it's marijuana. Like it's just like, it was during the pandemic, right? And so when you go outside and then you were like burning sage and like trying to sage your cards and stuff like that, I usually just never let anybody even see my cards. Because I've learned my lesson. I've been kicked out of people's houses because of it. People violating like rental agreements and stuff because they saw my cards and they were Christian. Yeah, I told you I was bait. I'm like, y'all don't believe me. Y'all don't believe the friends that I have. Like, okay. Hey, there are plenty of people in court right now as of, what is today? It's Sunday? Yeah, but as of last week, there are actual like trials commencing. And if you know, depending on what channel that you're watching from, or hopefully both, I would love all of your watch hours. I love y'all. So the Palo Santo, I do find, okay, so Palo Santo. Palo Santo is a wood of some type. I'm guessing it's a tree. I find it difficult to light and keep lit but sometimes it'll go into fire and it'll start popping and crackling and stuff like that. And sometimes it just smolders a little bit, but it clears like so well. I'm such a big fan of it. It does have a like a bite, like a very acrid smell. So a lot of people don't like it, especially in the house. But I prefer it to sage. So yeah, Palo Santo is definitely something that you might want to go ahead and check out. And definitely, you can get in, it can get expensive, but I find that, I just go for quantity at this point because the quality, it's smoke cleansing, right? When I was cleansing, when I was on the road, I was cleansing with birthday candles, like in a hotel room or Airbnb room, birthday candles and matches. So like as long as you've got something interrupting the flow, I mean, it's just yeah. Okay, so there you go. So now I guess I told you everything about it because I was going to say there's my 60-minute clip and let's talk about Palo Santo. Okay, yeah, let's talk a little bit more. So I will be making bundles. I'm like, let's go straight into an ad for me. I will be making bundles that do include Palo Santo. And like I said, it is a wood that it has a lot of resin. It doesn't burn hard, but like I said, it cleanses. Like sage is like this big bushy kind of, and I guess we'll just get into sage right now. So sage is, let's see, I do have a stick around here, but I don't feel like grabbing it. I'll grab it though. For the people that don't know what I'm talking about, then you'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah, there's one of the there's this really great meme that goes around and it's like if you're afraid of me saging, you're the person that I need to be saging against the most. I love that so much. So this is a sage stick, but as you can imagine, it's dried wood and so it's going to put off a lot of smoke, right? And I mean it sets off the thingy in here, the smoke alarm. So I have to break one down, which it gets really like pithy. I don't think that's a word, but like piecemeally and like all kind of whatever. But I triple smoke cleanse, and I'll send you the next, or I'll show you the next one. But yeah, I triple smoke cleanse, but I definitely break this down so I can have a little bit to sage in here. And then in the mornings, I go down to the garage and I sage myself, like with the big stick with the garage door open. So yeah, I definitely like the double whammy of the Palo Santo and the sage. And then I do have that over there. Gosh. Oh, another thing you can do. Okay. This one's really, okay. Yeah. Incense sticks. Okay. So if you are somewhere where you can't do the Palo Santo and but you can burn incense, you can get like the white sage incense. You can get, I love Nag Champa, but I prefer the white sage if I'm trying to. But some places they don't even want to have a scent because most of the places that people are like, oh, Airbnbs, you must be so bougie. And I'm like, no, it's the cheapest. I lived for for plenty of years, basically at an average of $1,000 a month with that's all of my needs taken care of, like electricity and Wi-Fi and everything like that. But most of them were shared spaces, right? So it wasn't like dormitory. Some of them were, but most of them were like single room. But they like in Dallas, they would have like houses that they had 10 rooms, right? That were all, you had a common room and there were, videos and everything like that, videotapes everywhere for the common spaces, but you'd have 10 rooms and 10 guests. And so, but it was really inexpensive to, $250 a week, 7 days for $250. Like what? And you can still, oh my gosh, there's so many deals. Airbnb is like chef's kiss. And people are like, oh my gosh, weren't you scared? Yeah, there was some scary. Out of 150 reservations, I've had like 5 really, really like scary situations. But I mean, that's a lot of people in a lot of situations and a lot of different scenarios during the pandemic, as you can imagine. So yeah, so incense is definitely one that is also a little less like looked at because when I sage here, like people are like looking in the garage, people don't give you the side eye looking at you like you're all witchy. Incense is a little bit more low key. Also, just to give you a heads up, I have finally developed it. I finally like packaged it all up. Do I have one here close to me? But these are like my sample sizes. I don't know. Maybe I'll but it's called my down low, my down low, like cleanse and go kit. So it's really, really tiny and it's just going to have a couple of things that you can have. Like, and it's a travel kit, but it's also like, so nobody can really, detect that because again, I've had so many bad experiences that people, and I'll tell people I'm psychic and I was psychic well before I was spiritual, long before I turned spiritual. I don't even like that term because I don't like being put into a box. And I think spiritual is just a wide box, you know, like a wide open. I was able to take things from certain religions and certain and make my own Hammurabi's, you know, moral code. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I'm going to show you though, like one of my favorite things that I love to do. Okay. Also, even if you don't have, and let's talk about, we'll go into sprays, but let me get, okay. 80, I'm so excited to talk to you. Can you tell about this? I just love the subject. Okay. So let me go grab this really quickly. Pardon me. Let me not expose myself. All right, so the triple whammy. Okay, the next thing up is that you can burn cinnamon. I like to burn this when I'm doing like abundance rituals, right? And abundance, it's people like think, did you look at my bank account? Yes, I am trying to build up my savings, and I'm very, very frugal, and I only shop at the thrift store. I mean, only, literally. Everybody thinks there's so much. I'm like, all this is like $2-3 stuff, or the flea market, or what have you. I just have a good eye, as I well should. I went to art school, so hopefully that's somewhat paid off. You know, people are like, oh, it's so bougie. And it's like, no, you can do I'm a balla on a budget, you know? So yeah, cinnamon, when you're trying to do anything. Oh, please excuse my nails. I'm teaching myself to do my own nails. And I'm doing a bunch of UGC videos and UGC is, here we go. If you're watching me over on Marbird Inc., UGC videos are user generated content. And so I've got a bunch of stuff from Amazon that I bought to do my own nails, so I don't have to go to the salon, so I don't have crazy salon people trying to clip my fingernails. That's another thing, is start doing your own hair, start doing your own nails, because people get your DNA and they do crazy things with them. I did not know this, okay, but now I do. So now I'm doing my own nails, but I'm going to, because it's such a long process and I'm still learning, and I'm using all these different products, I'm going to be, again, maximizing my time, right? I'm like, you're getting a lesson in here, maximizing my time. And I'm going to be taking these off with those products, and I'm going to be filming it for user-generated content and Amazon reviews. So I can go on Amazon and say, hey, I use this and this is what it looks like, right? And if it gets enough traction, Amazon will actually pay you that for you. And then I'm going to be using the Amazon affiliate link system, right? And I'm going to be putting that affiliate link. So if you want to use this product, you can go purchase it and I will get a small little commission from it, right? So that's monetizing what I'm going to do to myself, right? While I'm teaching myself how to do this 3 times in that one video. So there you go. There's some tea. There's a gem for you. So while I'm doing all of that, I might be burning my cinnamon stick. So like I said, the trifecta. The cinnamon is used in money spice, and it's primarily for abundance. That's definitely what I use it for. And I love the smell of it burning as well. And I try and, in my tea, well, I haven't washed this, but I mean, I would like use this and just stir up my tea. I know it's very, very common just to have cinnamon tea, and it keeps your metabolism going. The people that I have met have been older Latina women that drink cinnamon tea, like 4 or 5 of them in San Antonio. They're like swear by it. And they are the trimmest ladies I've ever seen, well into their 60s and 70s. Trim, drinking this every morning just by itself, because it keeps that right. And you add a little cayenne pepper to that. Woo, doggy, a little ginger, a little lemon. Now you got yourself the Master Cleanse. I lost 75 pounds on the Master Cleanse. If you're interested in it, I have a video. I think it's my very first YouTube video on Marbird Inc. channel. The whole recipe is there. All right. So, all right, we've covered the cinnamon. Let's get into the sprays, okay? Because the sprays are going to be your easiest, right? Because nobody knows, like if you're spraying, so, and you can make your own protection spray. You can also get Florida water. I'm not really sure. I was supposed to look that up. I have looked it up, and it's something, I don't know why it's called Florida water. I think it's just blessed. I don't know if I can make my own or if it's from Florida. I don't know. And a lot of users use it on their hands. Again, y'all, I did not know anything. I picked this up since my spiritual awakening and since my psychic abilities started coming in, because I had no idea I didn't know what twin flames, 1111, like all of this stuff, like crystals. What are you kidding me? Like tarot cards, those are of the devil, right? Like that's the devil. And we don't do that. And like now I'm just, and it's because there's so much when you start educating yourself. Stop listening to what other people are telling you. I started this whole journey when I was like 666. And I think I was like getting a phone number or something like that. And I was like, why am I so afraid of this number? I went and looked it up and I was like, wait a minute. And now that I'm so much more into the community, like the angel, like the number 6, like I'm so much, but I had to, it was just ingrained in me. I didn't know why, right? I was just told that and then over and over again. And then my body felt it and then I saw it and I got scared like Friday the 13th. And I really just started getting pissed off. Oh, people don't want me talking about this. There goes my throat chakra, right? They don't want y'all to know. This is actual spiritual attack right now to get me to shh and not let the collective know how to protect themselves. Ooh, let's get rid of that. Wow. That is a dedicated trying to shut down my energy right there. I'm glad it's on camera, right? Let's get rid of that. Man, oh man. Because they don't want you to know. How dare you? How dare you? I've got someone here that practices witchcraft on me daily, sometimes twice a day, and sends the evil eye. Like, I mean, it's just, so I've had to learn, because before it was like here and there and what have you. I've just come up, new levels, new devils type of thing. So, and she's very powerful in her own right. Right. So I've had to learn how to recognize magic, recognize witchcraft, see the signs of it, know how to protect myself, figure out like if that's not working, because and it's been so interesting, because it's like, okay, after you get done attacking my health, then you attack my relationship, then you attack my sexual like health, trying to, you know what I mean, like all of this stuff, like getting like UTI for the first time in like, I don't know, since I was married, right? Like stuff like that, like doesn't happen. I don't get sick. And I was like, oh shit, this is what's going on. And then going to the source and finding it, because I know when people are doing witchcraft on me, but I don't always know the source. And I would not think that it's the person that it was by any means. But now this person has honed my skills to the point where I've been able to completely shut everything down. But it has been like almost a year process of learning how to defend myself, right? From a very, very powerful high priest and high priestess, because there's also family that's involved that's doing the magic as well. And this is not just singularly. This is, right? I've got the other people, if you know, you know. But anyways, so this is like real stuff. And I did not take spiritual hygiene very seriously until well, the past couple of years, especially like when I was working undercover in the strip clubs. I had the Cubanos come in like powder and putting dolls around the locker room and all sorts of stuff. And I had to learn how to defend myself there. And I was terrified, because it's like, I don't want anything to do with witchcraft. I don't want anything to do. And they're like, well, don't take a knife to a gunfight, right? Like, it is what it is. Just because you don't believe in it or you're scared of it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And so I had to learn how to fight back. And so all of this stuff that's going on here is just like information that I have picked up. I don't know a lot. I'm giving you what I know, and then, fill in the blanks for yourself. I'm just trying to give you as much information as I have, because I can't stand gatekeepers. All right, moving right along. So you've got your protection sprays, right, that you can use, and you've also got protection oils. I actually provide both of those in my Apothecary, so you can definitely go to the link that'll be down below and check those out. I use them on myself daily. I even if you, that's what I was going to say with the sprays, even if you just blessed like your body spray, right? Or you went to somebody and had it blessed. But I mean, you can put words over your own, or you put like crystals in your own body spray. Like maybe you crack this open and you make your own, and you put a little body shimmer in it, and you put a couple of crystals in it, right, to charge it. Then you can use this, but nobody knows that you're really like protecting yourself, but you're also smelling fabulous, right? We love being efficient. So there's the Capricorn in me. I'm like, weaponize and monetize, baby. All right. Oh my gosh, that's so much better. See, this usually doesn't stay burning, but it stays burning when it needs to, and everything. Like, it's like calm down now. Okay. So people just don't want you to work either. I'm like, here's the thing. I'm like, oh, we're going to get into so much. I'm so excited about this. Okay. So the next one thing that you can do, use is an amulet. And an amulet is just like this is different. It's just the crystal, but like it can be, usually it's a pouch that has little items in it. What's the difference between an amulet and a gree or a mojo bag? I'm actually trying to figure out the difference between there. I don't know if it's just basically the same thing and it's different cultures that call it, like Allah versus God, I'm not sure, but I know with like my gree, I'm starting to make my own gree. Me agree, we agree, all the agrees, and they're actually really, really, I love it. And I'm doing it on charm bracelets. If you don't want to walk around with like a leather pouch, I'm doing little leather triangles that you can, like, for men, if you want to keep it in your wallet, like for gambling, protection, attraction, all that good stuff. So they're going to be little mojo charm bracelets, and so that's going to be really exciting. So you can get a gree bag or a mojo bag, or you can get an amulet, and that's something that you can keep on you that has very sacred items that are sacred to you, right? And that you can carry that with you for protection as well, like putting like obsidian there or something like that, like a protection stone. Maybe like a clipping of a tarot card, of like, the judgment card or something like that. Like there's all sorts of things that you can put in there that mean something to you, right? Like I found, like, it was last year, I found a wasp's nest, like, that had been like it was gone, but it was like intact. And so I knew that there was like a wasp nest like in the house, but I kept that, and it was like a protection type of talisman for me on my when I was doing readings and stuff. It was like that wasp nest, and it was like, it was protecting me from the wasp that it had left, right? So nature, things like that. If you have like a worry stone, I gotta put that down on here. Yeah, worry stones too, because somebody could like ask you, like, why do you have that rock? It's not like a crystal, like you're just walking around like a big old hippie, pardon about the mic, right, like this. But like if you have like a worry stone, that can be like obsidian or something like that. It can be like, oh well, I chew my nails, right? And so I'm trying to keep it from, or just, a lot of people do those like fidget things or whatever for ADHD and stuff like that. So you can kind of get away with it if you're trying to be on the low. Okay. So let's see here. We've got, okay, also a talisman. So have you ever watched that movie? It was with Leonardo DiCaprio. It was like the dream one in Inception, and they had a talisman. So like he had like a top, and that was like top heavy. Like he knew the feeling of it, everything like that. Something like an item that you carry with you, not just like an amulet or a mojo that has like items in it. Because like with the gree, there has to be a certain amount of numbers in it. I don't think that's the case with amulet. That might be the difference. But I do know with like a talisman is just like, again, like a chess piece, something like that, or also an enchanted item, which I will also be doing. I'll be blessing and having like, a pair of earrings. So if you want to go out, but you don't want to wear a big old fat crystal, but you want to be protected, or keep that like that juju around you, right? Because like I said, I don't do magic on people. That's not ethical. If they do magic, I can send it back, and you know what I mean, return to sender, whatever, that they're just doing magic on themselves, right? I don't send energy out to other people to do anything to attract them. Why would I want to attract them? How would I know if they really liked me if I put a spell on them, right? Like that's just beyond the point, but whatever. Here's the thing is the people that do magic on people, like to get, they're desperate. They need somebody to like pay their bills and shit like that, right? When you have your own, right, you can be discerning. So anyways, another little gem for you is like, make your own money, and then you'll have choices instead of having to cling to something that, and then when you start clinging, right, then you're clingy, and nobody likes a clingy person. I was going to say the B word. They're like, let's stay monetized. I'm going to try and keep the cursing to less than a minimum. It's tea season, baby. It makes me so happy. It makes me so very happy. And I love drinking from mason jars. It's just kind of my thing. Okay, so next up. Oh, okay. Also, heirlooms. You got to be really careful with heirlooms, especially, for me, I'm a person that, my sentience is like off the charts, but I also have that psychokinetic. If I touch something, I'll get like a banister, I'll get memories off of it. In fact, that's the first memory I had is I touched a banister and I saw a vision of a woman being pushed down those stairs. And it would have been like really recent, like the people that had rented before she was pregnant. So like antique shops and stuff like that. I don't tend to touch a lot of things in there. I from afar, but I don't like touching things because you don't, I mean, and when I do get things, like I even got these silver goblet cups or whatever, and I was just like, oh, how many centuries of people have been putting their lips on this thing? But I like put in baking soda and I, metal, because things hold things. That's why if you really want to get somebody out of your energy, don't keep their t-shirts or their hats or their socks or their underwear. Nothing. Everything from them has to be out of that. We'll talk about that in a different story. Okay, so heirlooms. So you got to be careful with them. You got to know what they carry with them. But if they feel good and they and that's your thing, then that's your thing. Okay, who am I to judge? Okay, next thing, spiritual baths and showers. These have been really, really important in my life. Apparently, I think I got some medicine, but again, I'm new to this thing still. So the past lives of reincarnation, like I feel it, right? Like I feel that pull that they're have, but I still have a hard time. I grew up in the church, like wrapping my mind around just like just all of the contracts, and I do, but I've got, because I have one foot in logic, right? And one foot in all of the thing, in the esoteric. And I use, like I said, I just try, I'm like Switzerland on that. Again, trying to keep the karma and the energy neutral, right? I like to stay in flow. If you've ever listened to Esther Hicks channel Abraham, it's called the vortex. And so that's where, we stay in manifestation. And it seems like there's all this woo and this, that, and the other, but the vortex is actually something that has been identified through science, and it's called theta state. So it's actually a brainwave state. So people are like, oh my gosh, you're like communing with the devil. No, I'm just dropping into a different brainwave state that allows me to access the other parts of my brain, the other 90% that we don't use, right? And I'm not tapping into all of that, but I'm working on it, right? And I have the ability to, right? Because I've practiced 10,000 hours, Malcolm Gladwell, right? Outliers. It's all about practice, right? And this is something that I just found that if I got into theta, I was able to raise my vibration enough I could get out of situation. I could raise it high enough to see the higher point of view, the bird's eye view of the situation, and be able to navigate the situation, not through my emotion, but through what was actually happening in the situation, and keep my emotions and everything like that in check in order to be able to strategize and get the heck out, right? Because I've had other, like, we won't get into that. So that's where it's really important when we start getting into spiritual baths. It's kind of like I'll say like a spiritual bath is like a Z-Pack, if you've ever been sick, or like a penicillin shot, or like a B12 shot, but it's more than that, because it's like one of those, like, if you really want to like cleanse your space, like, because it's a ceremony and everything is about the ceremony. It's the time, it's the intention. What's the intention? Do you really think that the herbs in there carry the magical this, that, and the other? No, it's the intention of going and researching it, right? And then finding what goes there, and then the alchemy of putting it all together, and then the drawing of the bath and letting the herbs steep, and then preparing your mind and putting on the music and lighting on the candle, whatever. It's like going to church, right? Your own very church. You don't have to go to a stucco building, right, with a bunch of other people that will pray to Jesus on Sunday morning and curse their family, while they're watching the NFL, right, that night, and speaking horrible, you know what I mean, and being gluttonous and being envious and being all this other stuff. But they're dressed to the nines, or even the churches that are fun with their flip-flops and their praise this, that, and the other. Yeah, I want to see who you are on Wednesday night. Show me who you are. Don't hide behind that Bible. I know the Bible like the back of my hand. You have no idea. Okay, so that's another no stuff, right? Knowledge is power. Okay, so educate yourself, right? So that people can't come at you talking out of the side of their neck. Okay, all right, so spiritual baths, big bomb, like kaboosh. All right, and the more intricate, like this last time, I mean, I went, fresh herbs from the garden. Like, I've got my, yeah, and it's like it just like boom to the system. Okay, boom goes the dynamite. If you want to go check out that reading, but it really, really is, especially if you know, like it's like a full moon, and you know you got a lot of people with a lot of evil eye or attacks are really coming at you. You can inoculate yourself hardcore with a spiritual bath. If you can't take a bath, because I was unable to take. First of all, I didn't want to take baths, especially during COVID, and I'm really afraid of other people's feet juice. And like I said, I was in shared housing, so I'm not gonna like unless I'm scrubbing that thing out. Like the idea of that, no. And usually it's like no. Mm-mm. I don't like. I became a germaphobe as a flight attendant when people like hit it and like touch the overhead bins and like, oh my gosh, like I don't. I do elbows. I don't touch surfaces. If I do, I've got like the sleeves like with the whatever, and I grab a hand. Like I let other people get the door. So yeah, like so if that's kind of the thing where you don't have an option to bathe, then you can do a shower. And I also will have my shower packets I'm developing now. I think I've got it down, but basically it's like a salt bath, it like an mitt, like a scrubby mitt. So you're like not only like exfoliating your skin, and I'm putting like, you know, all sorts of like different minerals and like different types of salts. Like, you know, I'm not gonna put my recipe out here or whatever, but I'm experimenting with a lot of stuff that are just really cleansing that you can do. Like if you're even like a flight attendant or a pilot or something, that you can take that spiritual shower, right? Feel really rejuvenated and just throw it away, right? Kind of like a disposable, or you can keep the anyway. So yeah, I'm developing those, but the new ones will be on the shelf pretty soon. So definitely look out for that. And there's a lot of other people that do that, and you can make your own, right? Getting the salt, like I just got this black salt in, and it's so divine. Oh my gosh, and it's so powerful. Oh, okay, so let's get into black salt. So black salt, I'll show it to you. I'm going to be blessing my own. I got it in bulk because I'm going to be selling it, but you can find already blessed salt, which I'll be doing. But again, we're not gatekeeping here. So you can get this in bulk and do it yourself, right? So you can use this to protect the inner part of your home, the outer part of your home. You can make your own black salt. I just made my own during the eclipses. Everything I wanted to let go of, and people I wanted to let go of, and so anything that needed to be let go of, you know who you are, including like, you know, I mean, insecurities, jealousy, like all that other stuff. I wrote it down, burnt it up, and then took the burnt ashes and put it in salt, and then made my own black salt, and then disposed of it the way I need to. Okay, so this is actually, I decided, because I am a Capricorn and I don't like wasting, there is like salt that's like, I guess, inedible, that's black, but because like I'm such a cook and I haven't really in a long time, and it's autumn is coming and it's here, and I'm about to start making some stuff, and this is just so visually beautiful. So I got like some really like higher end salt, not really high end, but definitely better than the other stuff that's like don't ingest. You know, I got ingestible salt, so I can use this in the cooking as well as for my own. And so I'll be blessing this and putting all sorts of herbs and minerals in there, and then selling these as packets by the ounce or however it is for you. So you can definitely look forward to that. Okay, but you can use this again against, you know, across your doorstep. I put it on the entire perimeter of the house, inside of the house. When I did this, the first time I did this, I told you I'm living in a home with a woman that's doing regular witchcraft on me, and people would think like it's a coincidence, but we don't have coincidences as high priests and high priestesses, right? And so I finally like decided to do the black salt. I got it like a 1 ounce or 2 ounce packet, like as a sample packet from Makesy, and I was like, all right, let's go ahead. And I was like, you know, I'm not trying to, again, just stay in your own lane. Just don't come here. So I decided to do a perimeter of the kitchen. So like because I was getting sick from the food, like I started putting my food and like even my ice like into the garage. So I was like, I don't know if she's actively doing witchcraft, and then I learned she actively is. Like there was one time we came home and even tell my partner that I had to throw 6 bottles of water away because we were gone, and so she played some magic on them, and I had to throw them away. right? So act, but it's like this weird cat and mouse. I mean, it's finished now. It's fini. But I've learned a lot of things, including doing some sewing, if you know what I mean, which I've never done before. But like it was being done on me, right? And here's the thing: is like again, I've honed my skills like a worthy opponent. It's like being Rocky and like punching the guy with the blonde hair and the top cut, you know what I mean? Like David and Goliath type of stuff. And I'm really proud of myself because like I've had to go down, like this is a list since I've been here that I've been making of ways to protect myself from this worthy opponent, which was this little old lady that they thought she's so dumb she doesn't even know how to put something like a sentence together, right? And she's like this crazy high priestess from back in the day that did some really gnarly stuff. Okay. And that's why, right, henceforth, and total bigot, racist, like the whole gamut, right? I mean, so there's a lot going to it. And then I'm like a very, very much younger woman, right? So there's that. And she has a lot of insecurities about her body, right? So doing the beauty magic, right? So when I realized she was doing that, like on the full, like the first time she did it to me, I sent back to sender, and the next morning she woke up with a big black, like it looked like her nose was rotting off, and it went like was really worried about it, like called a dermatologist, and it went away after like 4 days, and then she tried it again, and it was during the first eclipses in April, and it came back like full bloom, like a dead man's, like it looked like frostbite, right? She's doing it on me, but it backfired on her, and it was there for like a month and a half. Yeah. So again, I didn't even know I could do that. That's the first time I'd ever done a return to sender. So now I'm just getting sloppy. Well, that's that wide mouth, right? On the mason jar. All right. So enough about me. But like I'm trying to give you some, because again, okay. Moving right along. Let's go. So we've got baths and showers, and I've already shamelessly plugged my own products. We have massage, lymphatic massage, and Reiki. There are a lot of Sedona. I got a massage, and I guess it wasn't specifically Reiki, but it was a massage to like push out toxins. And oh my gosh, right? And then I think she told me she does Reiki. She did a little Reiki on me because I'd never like had that. I've done it on myself, which I didn't even know you can, but you can. And it actually works, but I never had anybody else. So she tried a little bit, but it wasn't a Reiki session that I had booked, but it was like it was supposed to be Swedish. Oh, excuse me. But it turned into like a lymphatic, and I like cried. Like she hit a couple and I just started crying. And like she would hit another spot and I cried from a different place. Like it was nuts. And I was like, I left that. I can't even, it was like 10 years of therapy in like a 90-minute massage. Take that as confirmation. Yeah. Highly, highly recommend whatever. I don't know which way you need to go with that, but, because there's so many different types of massage and stuff, but definitely look into that of just somebody moving the body, moving the body, moving the trauma through your body. Sometimes you can't do it yourself, right? And especially as people don't realize I used to be well over 300 pounds. I stopped weighing myself after 300. I know exactly how much. I mean, I do know like the last number, and I'm really embarrassed about it. But let's just say I've lost 170 pounds, and I've kept it off. In fact, actually I'm closing in on 175 pounds. So that's over a long period of time. Right. So it's been drop some, maintain, drop some, maintain. And so, yeah, so I now it's a lifestyle, right? And I do a lot of fasting, right? A lot of intermittent fasting and a lot of just regular fasting too, just because I don't like my flow. Getting into flow is so much easier. And if you talk to a lot of people, a lot of readers and stuff like that, we can easily just work off of fruit and water. Like those. We can't maybe do a lot of readings and stuff, right? That takes a lot of energy. When I'm doing readings hardcore, especially when I was doing like pick a cards like every other day. Oh my gosh, I was eating like salmon, like 3,000 calories in a day and still losing weight. Not even kidding. It was a beautiful thing. I was like, I just read so I can eat carbs. So let's see here. So yeah, the next thing would be walking, cycling, running, and swimming. So I am not a meditator. That is not my vibe. Now I've learned that I just drop into theta. I'm not like, oh, whatever. Like when I just wake up, the easiest way to stay like in a meditative state is to not get out of it. So when you wake up and you're in that like sleep to dream, Fiona Apple, like that fever dream, like I'm not quite awake and I'm not like, don't grab your phone, just stay there. That's the vortex. That's flow. That's the manifestation. And if you don't put a screen, if you don't put any noise, if you just stay there and you start letting like thoughts like free association and stuff like that, you can really start. I don't like the word like manifesting your dreams. It really is like one thing I keep bringing her up, and it was just because when I first got introduced to Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham, I was just like, oh my gosh, channeling. Oh no, that's like that crazy new age or whatever. And then a couple of years later, when I had been opened up to it, I was like, oh my gosh. And again, she talks about staying in the vortex. If you can stay and flow in the vortex, if you can stay in this happy, everything else happens around you. The universe happens around you. It literally is being in the eye of a storm. And so they're like, don't tell them the secret. Because if you can get here and you can stay here, everything else will happen around you. But once you step out of it and you try and make something happen, right? When you lean into something, that thing moves away from you, right? If you're like on a date and they like lean in, unless you really like them, you're going to lean away, right? And like, so it's kind of the same thing. When you lean into something, you're like, I really like it, but it's not, you lean into it, that thing is going to pull back from you. Okay, so oh god, I'm like, why am I getting all the like getting off the subject? But there's something here like with walking and cycling and running and swimming. Let's make sure. Okay, the mic is still on. Where again, meditation. It's a movement. It's a meditation of movement. Or if you're in the Tai Chi, martial arts, anything that can get you into flow. Even cooking, right? Doodling, that whole thing. But really, I'm talking about actual movement meditation. So for me, when I started cycling, and that's when I really started dropping, I dropped like 45 pounds in like 2 months. Granted, I was cycling like 12 miles a day, going back and forth to work while I was also like working in the heat at Red Lobster and then doing another 6 miles home, like 12 in Arizona heat, like 114 degrees. So yeah, you're going to drop a lot of weight and get a lot of muscle. So I got ripped really quickly. But that's one of my meditations. That's when my clear audience started coming in. That's where my clear sentience started coming. It was crazy how much once I got on that bike, it was like everything. Cause like my body, it was like, I was like floating outside my body. It was like my body was like moving the bike. And then I was just kind of like riding along with myself. And so, and a lot of people feel that like the runner's high and everything like that, but it's like you get to a space where you're just kind of outside of yourself. So is that something that you can feel like you can get into? And you don't even have to have like a regular bike. Being outside is really pivotal in that. But if you can just get into that I've done it in a cycling, like in spin classes. Like I've almost fallen off the bike being in a trance. Or I remember one time it was crazy. I had like this really, really crazy like angry orgasm, like when I was like screaming past my limit on the bike. All of a sudden my body like just spontaneously had an orgasm, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Because I was in so much pain because I was just trying to push through this fear threshold of like, I thought my heart was gonna burst, I was gonna pass out. I was just like, oh, and I was angry, I was putting everything in it. All of a sudden I just had this like the random big O. It was crazy, like how much the body, it was just like it needed that, right? Because well, I'd been celibate too, right? I was celibate. People don't realize and they don't believe. And it's like, I don't care. 3.7, like 3.7 years, I was like straight up celibate. So my body obviously needed to release that, right? Because I hadn't had that kind of release in that physical, like, as a flight attendant, I definitely like know how to. There's a lot. Anyways. Oh, I wasn't saying it that way. Oh my gosh, people are gonna make a really bad assumption. I'm just saying. When it comes to flight attendant, like, we're on the road a lot, and so like, we're by ourselves, and so we are well versed in the many ways that we can by ourselves solo, because there is that negative connotation. I can feel it. People are like, oh yeah, that Mile High Club. I'm like, y'all are dumb. Okay. Okay, we've already gone over the black salt, so let's go over the the natural bodies of water, really, really big deal. Even if you just sit by it, it's cleansing. Water, lake, bathtub, foot bubbler, whatever, just water in itself. Get yourself in it. If you can get yourself in it, doesn't, you don't have to swim, you don't have to do anything. We go down to the river and I just sit in like chest high water. I just sit there, or I tie myself to a tree in the tube and just read, or just sit there in the chair and like we just like play cards with our feet in the water. Just water. It's natural if you can. Okay. Yeah, I'm like, I feel like I gotta move this, moving it right along. We've already gone over black salt. Okay, your herbs. Okay, so that's what's going in those spiritual baths. That's what's going into the candles. That's what's going into whatever you need it to go into. It's the properties of it. Unless you're really going for like natural poultices, if you're really going plant medicine, but I'm talking about these are representations of things that are going, because it's like, really, the lemongrass going into that candle, it's what the lemongrass is, right? It's what it represents. It's what it was created for. It's the intention. Its intention is going into that candle, right? And so that's where we're alchemizing, just like a cocktail, right? Like a bartender putting a little anise and a little Saint Germain and a little orange rind and a little maraschino cherry. Can I speak? So, okay. Next up, yeah, we'll be able to get through this. We've got the fiery wall of protection. So I had to look this up, and apparently this is a spell. Okay, and it's a very intricate spell, and if you can look it up, you can Google it, and I actually downloaded it, and I think I'm going to do an actual, like a whole episode on it, because it was kind of fascinating where it came from, and it just, I don't know, it's like I'm really trying to get into the occult studies, and really like learn where this stuff is coming from instead of being so afraid of it. I'd rather be well versed on it, right? Here's the thing, is like, you know thy enemy. If you think it's such an enemy, well, then learn about it so then you can talk about it instead of just spitting out other people. I can't stand people that like listen to these pundits and they're like repeating the same things that they heard on the news. And I'm like, I heard that too, right? Like, you're just repeating. Like, have an opinion of your own for yourself, right? Instead of just spitting other people's rhetoric out. So pedestrian. Not demure. Not mindful. Okay, next up, I'm actually a really big fan of this guy. I say this guy, okay, I'm like, I like to have a plethora of beverages around me. Hot, cold, bubbly, still. It's not like, oh, if you know, you know, but I didn't know, so we went to just a little break. We're going to do. Okay, so when we went to Europe, I didn't know, and people were like, oh my gosh, yeah, blah, 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 blah. No, that was the most horrible trip of my life. It was with my mother, who was a horrible, horrible person. I know. For the people that don't know me from the other channel, you probably don't like that I'll say that, but it's true, certifiably true. But anyways, I was very blessed. I'm not going to throw that experience away, but I was very, very blessed to have the opportunity and know that I want to go back 1,000 times, with much better comfort. Let's just put it that way. So let me not take away from the fact that a lot of people haven't been like outside of their zip code or what have you. So I'm not trying to, but I also know that people, like, as soon as I say that, like, they're like, oh, of course. And I'm like, you have no idea where I came from. So you can, I am a 6 clair psychic, so I can feel, I can feel it. Okay. So here we go. So pull that away. All right. And so where was I going with that? Saint Germain and the violet flame. I don't know. Okay. That just got ripped from my mind. Don't need to go there. I'm like, I could already feel the vibe going down. Yeah. We're going to keep this high vibe over here, including myself, right? I am not perfect, right? Like, this is why I utilize all of these to help me, because people will put their projections on me. All of a sudden I feel it, and then I get in my head and I start, right? Like, that's how people can get you. So this is why we use all of these tools around us that are fun too. I mean, they smell good, they feel good. It's nature, it's natural, right? It's not a screen. All right, did I finish? Okay. Scrolling out, we're also going to be getting into some ADHD strategies to help you stay on point. A list helps. So Saint Germain, gosh, I wish I could remember where I was going with that, but I love Saint Germain. I don't know much about him as a saint, but I used the violet flame. I guess it just resonated for me. There's something about it. I got these cards from Kyle Gray. Excuse me. Like, I believe it's called the Keepers of Light. And it was like I just randomly picked it out because it had like all of the ascended masters. And I enjoyed one of his other Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck, and they're very different, but it's amazing. And man, oh man, when I say ascended masters, they come through these cards. Like, they're powerful oracle cards, and Saint Germain is one of them, and he has this violet flame of protection, and it's just this. I don't know. I just really resonated with it when I read. I don't even read through the book, but he just kept popping up and wanted to work, I guess, with me. And so I call on him very often, and it's a beauty. And I didn't believe in this crap. Okay, again, I don't like this crap I'm talking about. I didn't believe it, but like, you can call in Saint Germain and say, "Will you, cover me with your violet flame?" And you can feel it, and people step back. I've done it when I was doing like that. What's going on? Instacart. Yeah, people really don't want me to Instacart when I would be in the shopping, and just people, especially during the pandemic, using his violet flame to just inoculate me from their vibes, like just in the shop. Because I mean, you can feel people's annoyance like behind you if you're super empathic, right? And so, and then it gets you nervous, and then you start making mistakes, and then everybody gets more pissed at you, and then you get right. So like, being able to just say, "Cover me," right? Just like, "Cover me, Holy Ghost," or with the, Jesus Christ, whatever ascended master that you choose to work with, right? There's no judgment here. And if you don't believe in a creator, I don't know if it's God or universe or whatever, but if you don't believe in a creator, go watch The Life of an Octopus, like that new Netflix whatever about octopus, and then tell me after watching that series that there isn't a God or a creator. Because again, I don't necessarily subscribe to like the white guy floating in a cloud, right? I work with universal energies, right? You can connect as quickly to Jesus Christ as you can to Martin Luther King, to your long lost cousin. It's just a curtain. It really is. It's nothing like tapping into the devil, whatever. They're all certainly there, right? They're all in that energy field, right? But it's, you can't be taken over or possessed unless you're asking for it and you're opening yourself up to that. How do you do that? Opening yourself up to people that are like, that's the one thing I will have to say. Anybody that's a budding psychic or empath, honestly, I would say, if you have anybody else that's like, "Me too," run. I do not. I do not. I'm even with collaborations. I'm very baby, channel on YouTube, but even with that, I'm very hesitant, moving forward. You need to know what your boundaries are before you start getting into something. You don't need to figure out what your boundaries are when you're already in a situation. You need to be like, okay, I'm in this relationship. I'm only going to be in it for this amount of time. And if these things happen, then I'm out, right? Like, you need to have, this is how we talk about boundaries. Like, that's another thing, right? That should be number one on here. So your number one from all these people is having boundaries with these types of people that are bringing the effery to our lives. So, moving right along. Call on the archangels. I actually have a list of them for you. I'd never really heard them other than the ones like the biblical ones. And these are actually like in the Bible as well, which I didn't know. I don't know if all of that, I believe, because I looked up even Metatron, because I was like, that seems like a really crazy kind of name to be like, that sounds like a transformer. But he's actually in the Kabbalah. And in Jewish literature, like, it's very, so all of these, and they have very different personalities. They have very different ways that they approach. Some of them, you can feel them standing next to you. Some of them will approach in the mind, like a certain part, like I'll feel it's a certain one talking to me over here, or another one will come over here. Like, this is the thing, is like, we're all interconnected. Like, these are brain waves. Okay, it's like, I got actual science, y'all. Okay, so you're like, oh, you're psychic or whatever. No, I'm actually tapping into different brain waves in different states that have been proven to connect with all that is. Okay, so it's not just me. Like, we were talking about, like the pastors or preachers, these are just people that can get into flow. And that's why they're able to get these inspirations and get these inspired sermons, if they actually are, right? Because there's a lot of false prophets out there. But there's a lot of, everybody's psychic. Everybody is psychic. It's just how far away did you push your psychic gifts, right? And a lot of, there's so many different psychic gifts. Some people can smell colors, and that's their best psychic gift. Some people can just push things off of ledges, right? Some people can make light bulbs go out. Some people, right? Like everybody's got their own. For me, it's sentience, right? You can't blink without me feeling what you feel. Can't do it. Cannot do it. I cry other people's tears. Actors, like really good actors, like when I'm watching them, like their tears, like when they're feeling the actual emotion of the movie, like I can feel when they're really like they're tapped in, like method acting. I feel that they're not my tears. I'm not crying, but I'll feel it through my eyes. That sentience, okay? Clair sentience, clair feeling. It's an actual thing. Right? Medical mediumship, getting other people's anxiety, getting their medical, I'm a medical, right? I get people's, their, right? Yeah, like their pains. I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, who's around me? And I see somebody rubbing their hand. I'm like, yeah. And you can make a lot of money doing that, right? Being able to go in, sit next to somebody, and then all of a sudden, like a heart valve starts, like, and you're a perfectly normal human being. People would give so much money to use you as a little lab rat so they can identify what's going on with people's bodies. That's a way, that's a really great way to make money. I don't know exactly how to get into it, but if you can prove that that's who you are, I bet you can walk into anywhere and somebody go into the Mayo's Clinic and say, hey, I'm a medical medium. I bet they snap you up, or they at least try and see, right? Because how cool is that? So again, tapping into your own abilities to be able to, and here's the thing is like, well, I won't get into that. So I'm going to list off these. I'm like, look at this. So I'm going to list off all of these angels for you. So if you want any of them, like seem to like resonate with you, if you want to do some research on them, I absolutely encourage you to. Okay. There goes my throat chakra again. I didn't even take a sip of my tea. Oh, and that's coming from a different place. Wow. Monitoring spirits. I told you, right? I told you. She can hear me. With her little threads and her little earrings and her little like crazy. Oh my gosh. Well, she's very good at chaos magic, right? So she she throws balls of energy, like literally. And this is why we don't live within the vicinity of crazy witches. But all in due time. It's all fun and games until the feds arrive. Yes, witchcraft. Death magic is punishable by law. All right. Whew. That's better. Shenanigans. All right. Sorry, this shit just cracks me up. I'm like bitter much. Oh, there it is. There it is. Don't worry. Don't get me started to name names. All right. So we have Metatron. Oh, wait. We'll start with Gabriel. We got some on the list. I'm going to go through it so I don't miss them. And then we have Metatron. Metatron. He's actually one of my favorites. He's very, very fatherly. Gabriel, I haven't had a lot of, but yeah, Michael obviously is Big Daddy. He's a BDE up in the Archangel hood. And then you have Raphael. Are these the turtles? The Ninja Turtles? Then you have Shamuel, Archangel Shamuel, Chamuel. And then you have Azrael, which I had heard of like a couple of times. I feel like that's like a Lord of the Rings, like Azrael, Azrael, or something, maybe from a Lion Witch in the Wardrobe. I don't know. That's just okay. And then you have Uriel, Uriel. I have to go slow. I'm dyslexic. And there's plenty more, but those are like the big. Those are the like the ones that most of the readers that connect with archangels have kind of thrown around, and that's my little list. Okay, next up we have. We have. I was never. I could never drink tea. I could never have caffeine. It just well, like when I was little, it made me like, and then when I got older, it made me sleepy, right? Because I'm ADHD. But even though it makes me like sleepy, it gives me the jitters, like in my body, like my central nervous system gives off. But I've been able to tolerate it a little bit more. I definitely have. And if you're interested in just learning how to get into like mood, like I definitely love my edibles. I'm not a huge fan of the I do like them, like the D9s and all that other stuff, but the way they come in, like the gummies and stuff, I'm really starting to have an adverse reaction to like just all of the sugar. I really want the real stuff, but because of where I reside, we don't have the options that I had before. So definitely trying to figure need to make a move. But that being said, I'm just like why there's so much revenue to be made, right? I still don't understand the state, but it's inexpensive and warm. So here we go. Business is booming. Here we go. So next up, we've got crystals. And yeah, this is another thing where I'm like, that's just a sham. They're just pretty rocks. I actually really got into my. Let's burn a little. Let's put somebody burn a little cinnamon. Like, okay, so here's another way that you can do it. It's called transmutation. So all of this energy that's being sent to my throat chakra to keep me quiet. Because this person's involved with a secret society that targets the ones that don't keep the whistleblowers, if you will. So yeah, there's a lot wrapped up into it. It's not just like but that being said, when you learn transmutation, that energy's got to go somewhere. So you could accept it and be like, oh my gosh, somebody's like sending me witchcraft, right? As you can see, I'm just using that. I'm like, oh, that's just fuel, right? I'm like, send me more, send me more, send me more, send me more. That gives me like, because before it was like, oh, it was like a heavy feeling and I don't want to. And now I'm like, oh, so now I just like, okay, so take that energy. And this is all you have to say. This is intention. Say the energy that they're sending to me, whatever it is, please take that energy. And I learned this from a very, Rue, you know who you are if you're watching. And I want to thank you for this because she was like, you can just take somebody's energy and say, I want to turn this into abundance for myself. That's a little vague. So now, like, I have certain, I do have factions of people from motorcycle clubs to the strip club. Please, people that are very angry with me, right, and going through a lot right now because of what they did to me, but then they're still mad at me, even though they're ones that committed crimes. But that being said, I've got a lot coming from me and they're all attacking different things, right? So it's actually really cool. So like one faction is like attacking, like because I'm losing weight, right? They attack something and it turned out how I alchemize it is I ended up dropping like my last 10 stubborn pounds. I'm like, oh, you want to bring up a root canal? Fine, I just won't eat. I'm not gonna be able to. I just won't eat, right? And so I was able to drop like my most stubborn poundage or whatever, or like attacking my hair. And I was like, all right, well now I've got like this product that I bought that was supposed to like grow your hairs. All of a sudden, like like taking everybody's hair out, like it's falling out, right? And as all this stuff, and it's like all of a sudden, like the neighbor like uprooted their huge rosemary bushes, and like I was able to get one, and I'm able to make my own, which is going to be absolutely pure. And I know exactly what's in it, and now like my hair is coming in fuller, and right, it's like all like that's alchemy. It's like, okay, you want to throw this at me? Okay, you want to throw that at me? Let me turn it into something. So I've got people like doing like certain beauty spells, and it's like, okay, so put that into my roots follicle. Oh yeah, I know you're watching, right? So that energy, instead of it coming to me and me accepting it and then being like, oh my gosh, I have a hex on me, I'm like, no, go stimulate my hair follicles. That's right. Everything you do, like, okay, go ahead, because if you get really specific, I'm telling you, this is tea. This is tea right here. Okay, listen to me. Like, you can just take, because energy has to go somewhere, so you can return it back to sender. But why? They're already miserable, right? So why not piss them off? Why not use it to your advantage? So she would say, hey, I want this to go into my pocket times 8, right? I'm learning about the times things, okay? Because I don't want to take anything. I'm not using any karma. I only want to use the karma they're throwing at me. So then I don't have a deficit, okay? It's literally math. It's literally like times plus one. It really, really is when it comes to what people, and to keep your nose clean and to keep your karma clean and to stay in the vortex without incurring any like karmic. You let people bring their energy to you, and then you use their energy against them, so you keep yourself. Yeah, that's how. You want to know how I've been doing it? This is how I've been doing it, friends and fam. Okay, now let's see you do it though. It's not easy, right? And it's called integration, and you got to do the work. I am balanced in my light and dark. I'm perfectly fine with coming out and saying, yeah, absolutely, I will defend myself and I will protect myself, but I'm not going to incur any karma on behalf of you. I cut my entire family off. You think I care about you? Again, I was just bait. So crystals, back to crystals. Did not believe in them. I certainly do now. I do not use them as frequently as other people. I do not know much about them. They're very, very mild. I find they were a lot milder when I was a lot less tapped in. Now that I'm more tapped in, they are powerful. And there's one out there that I still won't, because I'm like, I feel like I'm still scared of it. And the fact that I'm scared of it knows that I know that it's going to change something in my life. And it's called Moldavite. And anybody that has worked with Moldavite says, if you don't want, if you're too afraid to change, and I mean, I've changed, right? Like you don't even know the amount of change I've gone through. I mean, talk about 150 Airbnb reservations in the past 4 years. That's a lot of people. That's a lot, right? And I was in aviation, 357 flights a day. Right. I've been exposed to a lot of people like, why are you just such a hermit and this, that, and the other? I'm like, oh my God, my central nervous system needs like a 10-year nap. I'm like, seriously. And that's after like a crazy, abusive, hellish marriage, and the same as a childhood, right? And then my own 20s that I ran around like a hoodlum, right? Like a straight up hoodlum. Even though I was very fiscally responsible. I mean, I've got a long laundry list of like Fortune 500 companies that I've done very, very well with and held, great positions with for, reasonable amounts of times that allowed me to, ultimately land pretty fabulous jobs. But I was unable to keep them, first of all, because of the company I kept, right? When you have family members, like, I mean, viciously vying for you to get fired and doing witchcraft. I mean, it's just, so this is where this stems from, right? But I didn't know any of this. I didn't know. How could I think my Christian mother of 3 times a week Christian mother is, even though, she's from Haiti, right? Like, but still, like, she's right, is doing just straight up voodoo on my ass. Right, so we got to learn, right? And the grandmothers and the uncles, like all these people that like they hide behind the Bible, and even if some of them don't even use actual witchcraft, they use the Bible and they use Old Testament words and they pray over you, like using these words of. And if you don't know how to defend yourself, which all you have to do a lot of times, you just have to acknowledge it, right? Here's the thing, it's scary, but like I have no problems pointing out my abusers. First of all, because I know who I am, and I've established I am a well-adjusted, person. A lot of people would like to paint that differently, but they don't know, and they weren't supposed to know, right? I was hidden in plain sight. They could have gone to my LinkedIn. They never bothered, right? Oh, yeah, I'm a crazy lunatic prostitute, this, that, and the other, but I'm managing 18 rooms at a time, 3 houses, Airbnb guests, taking their occupancy rate from 70% to over 99% in less than 30 days. Yeah, sounds like a real loser to me. Does all the marketing, the managing, the art, the interior design, the cleanup, the whatever. That's all, by the way, on camera, right? That's the only way that I was able to defend myself from like, oh, and y'all know, Leo and Jonathan, you are having a whole expose on you, okay? And most of the stuff is on video, so you can't deny it. All right. Yeah. Cardenas. By the way, Leo, this isn't me. Y'all are the warlocks, right? You actually told me on our first date at Bill Miller's, you told me that you were like ex witchcraft guys, right? And now you're like the pastors that save the gays. Do they know what you're doing to those poor boys? Don't worry. We're going to get into that with your little 200 gay bishop church and your 401 whatever exemption because of the church in your garage, but it's also an Airbnb. So you're getting tax exempt, but then you're also getting income with your Airbnb. I feel like there's a little bit of a situation there that the IRS probably isn't a big fan of. Just saying. Oh yeah, I told everybody. I'm naming names. Might be addresses next. All right, let's see here. We've got the crystals. There's so much about them. I can't even. It's just like you gotta feel them. You gotta feel them, and one feels different than the other. And sometimes I sit on them. Some of them are in my bra. So I want to get more on my wrist, but I just like the cleaner aesthetic, and I don't like I just don't. Sometimes I don't care, right? And I walk around like a little dirty hippie. But sometimes I don't want people to judge me, so I don't wear this around my neck all the time. I'd rather it in my bra or in my panties, if need be, right? Or something where I'm not running around with like a bead, because I, again, love a clean aesthetic, and like people judge, first of all, but secondly, I'm a photographer as well. I'm an artist, so I don't like things like this. Drives me crazy, even though I love it. Okay, I gotta share it with you. We're like almost at the end, and I'm like, I don't want you to go. Look at 11:11 on the clock. But here we have. I won't tell you what it says, but it's a Morse code bracelet. How cool is that? So there's a thought right here that I have, and yeah, it's spelt out in Morse code on here. But to me, as a photographer, it feels like a hairband. And it's driving me crazy because I'm like, get the hairbands off. So then I put this other, I put the protection on, and I'm just, but like, yeah, this is my uniform, right? This is like, I have 4 of these shorts, I have 4 of these shirts, I have 4 of these skirts, and I mix and match them when I'm at home, so I don't have to think about what I'm wearing during the day. I know I'm comfortable in them, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So that, again, another side note, and I know I'm getting off, I'm getting little things, whatever, I'm getting off note, but like, no, these are good things to talk about. Okay, so the crystals, you got to just feel them out for yourself. Like I said, as you get further along in your spiritual journey, I would definitely start looking into them. I think they'll make a big difference in just moods, like during the day. Like grabbing one, like citrine, can like brighten, like, like if you're gonna go someplace and you're gonna be like, let's say Thanksgiving dinner, right? You can grab citrine and rose quartz to kind of pump you up a little. It's kind of like it's like doing aromatherapy and like taking like a mood booster, or like an edible, like a little bit of an edible or something like that. That's kind of like what carrying a stone does. It's like, oh, this one, the rose quartz, will make me just a little sweeter than the vinegar tonight, right? And a little. So I do that with my candles, like just because I have put so much into them. Each one of them has 9 different herbs in them, as well as 3 crystals, sometimes 4. And then I'm putting my oils in there. I'm putting my moon waters, my eclipse oil, like all of the things. Like they have a lot of intention, and they're road openers, so they're huge. They make a huge impact, these little guys, right? And so, but I'll do that when I'm like, oh gosh, like, because I can have a bit of a tongue on me. So depending on where I'm at, like keep me quiet, or make sure that I'm a little bit more, you know, pulled back, or give me something to do. Like I will use these candles to like navigate my own emotional space depending on where I'm at. Like if like I'm really like asked out and I know we're going to like, let's say Costco, and I just like maybe just, you know, started my cycle, well, probably I'm not going to go, more than likely, just because I'm so open at that time. But if I have to, or not have to, or want to, or whatever, like I'm going to inoculate myself with a lot of like black obsidian rock. And I'm also noticing that like probably like I'm going to be a little bit more spicy if someone crosses me wrong or gets too slow or whatever. So I'll put a little like lovely, you know, I'll light my like little loving candle, and like an attraction candle for myself, where I'm like just breathe and notice what's around. Maybe you'll notice like a product that you've never noticed again. Like I do that like as a precaution, right? So this is where you can really like, okay, where am I going? I know these aren't my favorite people or whatever, but if you can really think through it, you don't have to put magic or a candle on you, whatever. For me, it's just an intention thing, right? I have them available, so I don't have to think about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going here, and oh gosh, like let's say we're going to a restaurant that has like a lot like of young hot girls. Sometimes my jealousy can flare up, right? Like, and it's just in me, and then all of a sudden I'll take it out on someone else, right? Because I'm like, you know, I'm starting to get my silver hairs in or whatever, and this little 20-year-old is trying to flirt with my guy, and it's like he has no interest, and he's not even showing like I wouldn't be with him if he did. But I feel some type of way sometimes because they do have magic on them. By the way, I didn't know this. People putting magic on themselves. But sometimes it could be somebody else doing magic on me, which I also learned, right? Because they go into your weaknesses, and they're like, oh, I know they're drinking tonight. Like the old, you know, the in-law, right? Like I know they're going out, right? They're gonna have a beverage. Alcohol lowers your vibration. So now I'm more susceptible to that type of magic, chaos magic being thrown my way to make me try and start some fight, right? But now I know, right now I don't indulge. Like I also know like a lot more magic will be thrown at me, like if we go somewhere, right? So then I prepare for that ahead of time, like all of the things. Like this is what you have to do, and it seems like really intricate, but magic can really f with your life. People can really f with your life, and you can't prove it supposedly unless you have friends in high places, such as me. High, low, and 3D places. That's what I mean. Not like, oh, such as me, like I'm better than somebody. Like you have them as well. You got ancestors that are just waiting for you to ask them to help. You just have to acknowledge it. I didn't even know that you can be like, can you please? They're like, yes. All you have to do, your acknowledgement and your asking is all the permission they need, but they can't do it without you. So your ancestors are like one of your biggest weapons in this. Okay. All right. Bells. I didn't know about this, but like bells are like really old, and people have like witches bells, whatever, but bells. And now I got like some little ones that I got from Temu, just like a pack of them. I was like, I'm gonna make them into earrings, and they annoyed the fuck out of me. The bleep. Pardon. I'm like, did I put a band-aid on the wrong finger? Because I had one on this stuff. I've been messing around with the tape. But yeah, so bells definitely clear the air. Like they're the fastest thing, I think. But people get a little weirded out again if you're like, they're like, why are you ringing that bell? But I just got the little ones or whatever. And I mean, it is the clear, like vibration, right? It sounds. So it's the easiest way to clear something out. I should have probably put that at the top of the list because it's kind of one of those really easy ones that you can do that's like really inexpensive and a little less sus. Another thing is you can get like those, you know, those little belly jangly anklet wrist things or whatever, or something like that. All right, let's see here. What time? Where are we at? It's 10:12. Okay, so next up we have frequency music. This is the big one. I don't have it on today, but first of all, bilateral beats. I'm just saying, okay, binaural beats, fabulous, and you can use those for different hertz. Targets different chakras and different like healing and all other stuff. There's so much about it. There's so much in it. Just look up binaural beats, and it'll come up with like whatever hertz, like the hearing, how they measure sound. I guess let me not butcher it too much. But yeah, you can check into hertz. And for different chakras, if you need like more solar plexus, like if you're like going on an interview and you really want to ace that interview and you're really feeling nervous about it, you can go ahead and the morning that you're getting ready is you can put that hertz for music for your solar plexus, which is all about confidence and that Leo energy. And you can put that music on and it'll help you out, right? It'll get you, help balance that out for you so that you're not too overconfident, but you're not too insecure. Okay. So yeah, definitely use all of these tools. And then we're going to talk about round time because we haven't even gotten to astrology, and I'm not an astrologer, but I definitely use astrology to my advantage when I can. And I'm learning more about it, right? Like I'm a definitely a student for life. Okay. Next up. So frequency music. And oh, that's what I was going to talk about. Bilateral beats. This is like for the hemisync. Look up hemisync. Okay, this is where you want to, because people are like, oh, well, I'm more right brained and I'm more left brained. And that's fabulous. And most people, with your hands, I taught myself to be ambidextrous. And I feel like this actually helped me out because I did this when I was very young. I was always into like survival stuff. Now I understand why. And if you learn a little bit more about me, you probably understand why, that I was always like into like escape artists and survival and like Oregon Trail and like Little House on the Prairie and like learning how to like break out of things and all sorts of stuff, right? Because of what was going on in my actual life. But for me, like, I guess I just like lived in my imagination a lot because I read books voraciously. And so I was obsessed with the fact that I could lose a hand. And if I lost a hand, what would I do if I didn't know how to use the other one? So I taught myself when I was very young. And then we start talking about like the development neurologically of children, right? We don't, especially females, we don't even stop developing our brains until we're almost 28 years old. So like the neural pathways that develop, right? I do feel like that really helped me out when I taught myself to be ambidextrous. I was like, well, if I lose this hand, what am I going to do? So I taught myself how to write with my other hand. And I feel like that's why that's one of the early reasons is why I'm also as intuitive as I am, is because I am able to tap into both I'm able to balance that out. But bilateral beats, they're actual beats, like, it's actual music that is meant to bring, like, if you're more right brained, to bring the left into there. Again, getting into that hemisync, because when you get into hemisync, then we start getting the theta and then delta and gamma. And I don't know much more about the theta state, which is where I believe I reside in most of the state. And it's very easy for me to drop into that, but it used to not be. I used to have to do a lot of things like a shower and and like walk and like commune with nature and all this other stuff. And now I can do it. In fact, it happened the other day. I took a spiritual bath, and because I have been just imbibing less, because also another thing I will have to say, spiritual warfare is cleaning up because as empaths and as intuitives and psychics and all the other stuff, a lot of us tend to overindulge in alcohol and drugs. And the reason why is because because we're so exposed, right? So as soon as I have a beverage, like I go into a place and I can literally, if they're within 20 feet of me, I can hear their thoughts, right? As soon as I have a beverage, it all goes away, right? It starts quieting. They start going from, whoa, like, look at that bitch, blah, 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 to like, whoa. So that's why a lot of people that are addicts or alcoholics or anything like that are actually like really, really incredibly psychic. And if you're interested in more of that type of, gosh, I got to remember, I have to watch this. Gabor Mate or Mate. Gabor, he talks about addiction to ADHD and where that stems from. It's cutting to the soul, but there's definitely there's a lot of insight and a lot of work, a lot of work from professionals out there. So I definitely want to share that with you. But okay, we're talking about bilateral beats and then talking about alcohol. Oh yeah, and all this. Okay, so and we'll get into HSP, right? Highly sensitive people, psychics, intuitives, Hayoka or Hayoka. I don't know how you say that. All of the things. We're just going to do a deep dive, but this is really, like, again, an important subject. So Here we go. Frequency music. Okay, we're gonna skip that one. No, we're not gonna skip it. I'm gonna say reparenting. It's a really big that needs to be an episode in itself, and that's more of a long-term solution. But learning how to speak to yourself, learning how to be your own parent, learning how to reestablish, not even reestablish, but change the neural pathways of how you speak to yourself, right? Because you say those things to yourself. Oh gosh, you're so dumb, or you're this, that, and the other, and you just it's just second language to you. And this is where we got to stop, because you're literally speaking to yourself. You wouldn't say that to a child. You know how I ended up stopping doing this? I was like, if I had a daughter, right? Because I was supposed to have many. If I were to have a daughter, and if she spoke to herself this way, what would I say to her, right? If she was a little girl and she's like, you're so dumb, or you're this, that, and the other, or someone. And another thing is like, okay, if I had a daughter, this is how I started changing my relationships. When somebody said something to me and I was like, if that was my daughter and they said that to her, how would I feel about it? Would that make me feel some type of way? Some type of way? Would that make me feel some type of way if that was my daughter? It was like, because I'm more protective of the people I love than I am of myself, right? And so I had to learn, okay, well, that's just the way I am. So let me make this about someone I love. So my imaginary daughter, someone talked to me. So like if a guy like texted me back and he said, and I was like, if that was my daughter, and I looked at it and I was like, what would I say to her? I was like, it changed my entire life. I cut everybody off in my life, because I was like, oh, you're not going to talk to me. You're not going to talk to my little girl, my inner little girl like that. Right. And then if you do, then all of a sudden I became my own daddy. Right. So this is where integration happens, is you become your own. I'll be sweet. I am a sweetheart, and I love people, and I love hanging out, and I love having a good time, and I love having beverages, and I love cooking together, and I love just having that rapport, right? I do. But then people get really squirrely, and when they do that, then that's fine as long as you stay in your own lane. But if you start coming for me, I bite. I don't bark back. I bite back, right? I switch into the King of Swords, right? Make me feel some type of way. Yeah. And you're going to get a whole nother side of me, which was not necessary. And they're like, well, you're too, no, I'm not. I'm going to show it to you. First of all, I'm not going to go hide behind your back and do it. I'll say it to your face. I'll call you out. So that's people throwing stones and hiding their hands. If you got a problem with me, come to me. Here's the thing. This is where I have a real problem. How do you believe something about someone that you've never met and just jump on trains, hate trains? That is the most weak sauce character. Go do some character building. Somebody tells you something about somebody and you just believe them, and then you start committing hate crimes against a person you've never even spoken to. These are people that are like, right? This is reparent, because I'm talking about parents, right? Like I'm talking about. Am I talking about parents? I wasn't talking about it veered off, but I really am talking about parents, because there are, including mine, right? There's so many people that it's reparenting, because you can't sit around in sorrow and suck your thumb and say, oh, my parents did this to me. They were doing the best they can with the information they had at the time. You got to forgive them. Can't forget. Got to forgive them. If you don't forgive them, then you're not going to be able to get over it. And not forgiving someone is just taking the poison and waiting for them to die, right? Or I don't know. But the best revenge is life glow up, right? Your success, and it really is. There is nothing sexier than having a mother call you fat all your life and coming back and dropping like 30 pounds. Let them not see you. Go into hiding. Go into hermit. Heal. Forgive them. Because once you forgive them, they can't trigger you anymore. And if you can be triggered, you can be controlled. Right? If I can trigger you, that means I can manipulate you. Because you have proven to me that you can be manipulated. Right? If you can't trigger someone, if someone's like, okay, I'm a whore. You're calling me a whore. I know I'm not a whore. Anybody that believes that I'm a whore from listening to you and not getting to know me is a whore themselves, or whoring themselves out to you. So I don't associate with whores. Go fuck yourself. Oh, we're going to have to find this. 128. I gotta bleep myself out. I want this monetized. It is my favorite word though. Or favorite. Go fudge. Go have some fudge. Maybe we'll make that cute. Very demure, very mindful, very cutesy. I'm not cutesy. I love it though. Let's see here. There's a time for being demure and there is a time for being cutesy. Okay, jar spells. I didn't know anything really about this. I've heard about it because I'm not like a witch talk, like again. And I have, necessity has been the mother of my witchcraft journey. Like they say, invention or whatever, but because out of necessity, like how do I combat this? And then going down, right? Like I don't want to like go after people. I don't care. You say I'm putting energy into my legacy. I don't have energy for you. I don't care. You don't matter. Right? If you're up to shenanigans, which is why you're doing it, right? You don't matter to me because you did once. You did matter to me when you were a good person. And then you flipped, right? And now you don't matter to me. I don't think about you. And I'm not saying that to hurt anybody's feelings. It's just a matter of, and I know it sucks, but this is what you have to learn. You have to learn detachment. If you stay stuck, depression is being stuck in the past. Anxiety is being stuck in the future. Okay? You got to stay right here, right now. Figure out what's going on around you. Okay? Or else you're just always going to be in this karmic loop. I don't wish the worst on you. I wish you healing because I was here. The only reason why I can call you out like this, the only reason why I can tap in like this and feel like I'm reading your entire journal to the entire world is because I was right there with who you were. And I had people staring me in the eyes saying, I know who you are. I see through you. And you're just freaking lonely, right? Because there's horrible people around you. You've surrounded yourself with horrible people. And it's because you were raised by horrible people. And they're not horrible. Not everybody's horrible, but they're wounded. Like really, really, you got to realize, I didn't know how abusive my family was. How I started like, wait, not everybody gets whipped with an electrical cord when they step out of a shower in the morning before they come home because they didn't clean the grout with the toothbrush at 3 a.m. and not also get their homework done? Are you kidding me? And then I feel guilty about it and then I keep the secrets of the family? Hell no. Hell no. These are sociopaths. Uncovered. We are speaking out. Okay, so this jar spell crap, okay? It actually works. I had so much coming out, like I didn't even know. And they were like, do a jar spell. Like it kept coming up in readings that other people had me and they're like, that's not even the whatever. It's to capture it. Like I have this wide mouth. And I would say, oh, you know who you are. I got like 6 different, like it was crazy. When I finally, I put all the little things that I needed to, just felt through it. And some absorbent whatever is like whatever, and then I set it out and it was like all of the energy went from me. Like I could feel, like I literally, like on my chest, I couldn't get out of bed, like a weighted blanket, and it immediately like whoosh when it's at, and they said leave it open for, and it was like, it was just magic being thrown. So yeah, it works. I've never, again, I'm not going to be doing that on other people, right? But I will. So look into it, see if it works for you. Then you have the return to sender. I think we kind of touched on that earlier, but that's just the easiest, like really just setting attention, just a little candle and just being like, hey, I don't want anything to do with this. Can you just send it back? But you have to set the intention. You have to light the candle and say it. Doesn't know how long it burns or whatever. It's giving permission to the ethers. It's saying, Jesus, take the wheel. And people are like, oh, this is, oh, it is, certainly is. I'll tap into the Christ consciousness if you want me to. And you're to say, oh, it's this, that, and the other. Jesus is right there on our shoulders. So is everybody else. So like I said, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, anybody, they are waiting to talk to us, including the ascended masters. If you want to just like call up the phone, you don't have to pray. You don't have to ask. That's the thing is, the organized religions has us asking for things that we feel like we can't achieve ourselves. And Jesus is right there. He's not through your pastor. You don't have to go to your pastor to ask him to pray for you in order to speak to the Christ consciousness. You can do it for yourself. And you don't have to do it with candles or nothing. Just go out into nature and ask him to drop in and talk to you. How are these people in the Bible, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, the Gospels. They're all the same story, all from their point of view. Do you know how many other books of the Bible there are? How many they're hiding from you because they don't want you to know the information? They cherry pick the Bible in order to get you where you need to be. And then we have these different factions of Presbyterian and Methodist and this, that, and the other because of one phrase in the Bible that they decided to interpret differently than the other. And then they're shoving that dogma down your throat and telling you to fucking eat it. And you're like, okay, give me more. Thank you, Pastor. What did Jesus say to me today? Think for yourself. Question authority. He's right there asking you, please talk to me. You don't have to talk to ancestors. You don't have to talk to ghosts. You don't have to this, that, and the other. Jesus is my homie. Y'all just don't know. Do you remember who he was? Do you remember who he hung out with? Do you remember what he did? People are like, oh, this thing. Jesus was a rebel. He's Aquarius, I believe. I feel it in my heart he was. So your return to senders, very easy. Just speak the intention. Whatever they're sending back to me, let them, and here I have, and I'll tell you this, like straight up, I do have, it's like the toll. It's like a toll. When I do a return to sender, they say, okay, how much karma do you want? How much times more? So I try and keep that number low unless it's been a heinous crime. Because you do get a little interest on there. I'm not going to lie. But I like to try and keep my karmic slate as clean as possible. But they get, like, you can send it back with the karma and you can put a little kickback on it. I like to put more of immediacy on it so that people know exactly, like, if they said my name, like, within 24 hours, like, they know, like, something, like, the exact same thing, like, they're going to know exactly what it was that they did in order to, like, I just prefer to nip things in the bud. So then you can also go to a root worker or a high priestess. And I, you really need to be careful. You need to do your due diligence. And my root workers and my high priestesses need to do their due diligence when they're dealing with other people. I honestly would never go to a practitioner just because I know how powerful they are and like what they can manipulate. Like I just, I have a lot of abilities. I do not hold the weight that I do in the law enforcement community by shenanigans, right? I have to keep my nose clean in order to keep my allies close, right? And so that means that I have to practice ethical magic, and I didn't know anything about magic. First of all, I didn't know how powerful it can be. I didn't know how permeating it is in society, and I damn sure didn't know that I had any type of ability. So with great power, I guess, or whatever, comes great responsibility or whatever it is, right? And so being able to, like, how is this karmically? Because my karma, I'm talking, and this is when I was a child. I remember if I stole $5, like $50, like something would go miss. Like I would break something, right? That was $50. Like I knew, and it would be immediate. Like I had immediate karma. Like I always knew that I was getting spanked by the universe. And yeah, I did some harmful things to myself or whatever, but I generally, and I was a little bit of a klepto when I was younger. But that's because I was never allowed to have anything myself. So like I would steal like little like precious pebbles or like my grandmother's earring just so I have something like, oh, you're gonna make me cry. I'm gonna make myself cry. So I'd have something pretty, So yeah, like I feel like I'm just talking to a real group of people that can just like this is the real deal. This is like knowing that you're not crazy and you're not here. Well, I mean, some of you might be hearing things. That's how, I mean, I thought I was gonna turn myself in. Right. And a lot of people, like when I was younger, I actually was dating like a really, really, now I understand, like big drug dealer, like a really big drug. I didn't know how big of a drug dealer he was. And he had me helping him, like a pretty young girl, like moving his drugs around town. Right. Like I'd have him in my purse, like all pretty and stuff, whatever. Well, I ended up like, I don't know if this is purposely or not, getting a vial of LSD. Like we bought like a big one, right? Like for sale, and it leaked in my pocket. Again, I ended up being Baker acted for like 2 days. It was like a 48-hour hold or something like that. Like I called the guy. I was like, come get me. I am not fit for public consumption. I did. I was like, this is no bueno, right? Like I lost my shit, right? But I had the wherewithal to call the ambulance on myself and be like, I need to go away. And that's been used against me like my entire life, right? And it's like, wow, I was a young, and considering my parents, I mean, how bad is it for me to have to run away like that? I mean, they were so abusive. I'm just gonna put it out there, right? I waited for my dad to go to like a church conference to be out of town because he's like a former Marine and he'd beat my ass and rape me and molest me, like all of the things, right? And then my mom, like, oh my gosh, I remember the moment. Okay, here's tea. I remember the moment I decided to run away. We were in the car and my mom, for whatever reason, I set her off and she was beating me, right? Like in the passenger seat with a huge bottle of water, just beat right. And I'm like, I just turned 18. And I was so angry that I broke the skin, like just keeping myself from hitting my own mother. Cause I learned, right? Being from the Caribbean, right? We don't hit our elders. We don't this, that, and the other. We don't this, that, and the other. And I broke my own skin, keeping myself from hitting her back. And this was like, no more. I stole the car. And you know what I did? I ran to a spiritualist camp. My boyfriend at the time lived in a spiritualist camp. Like I think it's the oldest spiritual camp in America, like the place you never go, because I knew they would never find me there. I didn't know anything. I was terrified of I was so scared even going, like driving into that town. It was scary, and living there was scary. There was a lot of dark, there's a lot, and I didn't even know, I had no idea. Like I'd never been around it, anything like that. I was terrified, but I knew they would never find me there. And they didn't. I mean, eventually, but that's for another story. But needless to say, yeah. Oh my gosh, okay, we're about to run out of battery. It's so good. I'm like, man, I have told that story to a lot of people. Really interesting. Okay, so we already talked about Gree. Okay, we already talked about alchemy. All right, and here's one here. Okay, here we go. We're at the end. This is the last one that I've got for you. Okay, and this is like a little bonus one. This is like a personal one that I have, and I'm like, can I? And they're like, I can absolutely share it, because you can't like. So if anybody isn't really interested in all this other stuff, but you're really into, what do you call it, like Marvel or something like that, Magneto. Okay, if you really want to just like, where you don't have to have something on you, whatever, but if you can just imagine like Magneto helmet, right, like over your head psychically, that really helps if you don't have any, like, grounding thing. Also grounding, right? Like we talked about movement and exercise and all that other stuff. But I also want to talk about one more thing, which I didn't think about, but I'm thinking about it now, is a hood. A hood or a hat or a cap or a wig. So a lot of people don't realize I started wearing wigs. Well, first of all, because I was undercover and I needed to maintain the same look. But also, so I couldn't be identified, like, yada, yada, yada. But also, it was when I was reading, when I started doing pick cards, there's so much energy coming in to the crown chakra, because you're like pulling for so much, like you got like 3 or 4 piles, which means people that are paying attention to you, which means collectives versus just like one. When you're doing zodiacs, it gets it's very, like if you do 12 zodiacs like in a week, it's very interesting how you'll see like all these stories intertwined and all these people intertwining. If you stick with like going, Aries through Pisces like once a week or something like that, it's really cool how you'll see it. But that can be, it's just so limiting when it comes to your exposure. But if you do like pick a card, it opens the exposure, because people are like, oh, there's so many more people that you can resonate with, but it's a lot more energy that you're intaking, which means it's coming into your crowns, and it can make you dizzy. It can make you overeat. It can make you undereat. It can make all of these things, right? So if you wear a hood, or I would even like just put a kitchen towel over my head. I started learning like to put a kitchen towel over my head. or just wearing like a ball cap. But honestly, like if you're a female and you get like really lightheaded or something like during a reading, um, go ahead and like maybe try wearing a wig or like a scarf. That's why you have a lot of the women, they'll put their heads and they'll wrap their scarves because they're covering their crowns. Right? So cover your crown, bitches. Cover your crowns. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a little addendum to that video because because I was like, okay, it was just short and sweet. It was like everything ended, bam. And then all of a sudden, because I was wondering, yesterday we went out and did like a photo shoot. Like I was a professional photographer, that's what I have my degree in. And boyfriend has got a really great eye and just really good at the technical stuff. So, anyways, we went out to do like a shoot so we could get some LinkedIn photos, all that other stuff. And I'm really good with my equipment, with my photography. Like I am on top of it, right? I used to leave things all the time. I have ADHD, so I have a really good routine with that. But this is another example of spell work because the few times that we've had issue here, like the water, the bathtub overflowing, it was a night that I hadn't even like taken an edible. You know what I mean? It was like, it was just kind of like like erase. Another time with like a candle. So this person that throws the chaos magic, like this is their form of whatever, and it gets pretty predictable because every time we go out and do something, it's kind of like a weekend thing, right? Like she just throws like a bomb in the middle of whatever, but you never know where it's coming from. It could be like someone else, or it could be like against the health, or it could be like with the car or whatever, right? Again, powerful. And so powerful. I don't want to give that much energy, but I mean enough where it's affecting, right? It's like, and I put my protections up or whatever, but energy is energy. And so we went around doing the whole thing yesterday and we left. I realized I didn't have my cell phone. Wasn't even thinking about the camera. We went back looking for the cell phone, right? He called it, found the person like picked it up. We went and found my cell phone. How crazy is that, right? In the middle of a city. Amazing. Didn't realize I didn't have my camera. I just realized that today. I was filming this whole video, right? So he hadn't had a chance to like check in, and we didn't have, touch base. And yeah, my camera is gone. So this person's basically trying to take everything, right? Like anything like monetary wise, so I can spend money, so I can be broke. Like this is definitely one of those spells where they're trying to take things that I use in order to make money, right? And this is what they really want because they feel like I've taken that away from them because I've exposed them for who they are, right? And they don't like that. So they're using everything. But so now I want to show you how we're going to be alchemists in this situation. Okay. All right. Get ready for it because I can tell where it's coming from because people are like, well, how do you even know? Well, everybody that's done me wrong, that's up to the shenanigans right now because y'all are in my energy. Like you all have different smells and stuff, right? So your names are all here. So all I have to do is just pull the card and then find out what's going on. This is just kind of like the back pocket stuff. So this is something that you can do for yourself so that you can really pinpoint who's who, right? So that's what we're going to, well, I already know who's who at this point, and it's like, well, then what do we do with this energy? Because it's energy that's being thrown at me, and like the camera's gone. It was $250, right? Well, the camera itself was $200 because it was refurbished, and then I had my Nifty 50 on there, so it's actually more than that because the Nifty 50, I think you can get one for like $50, and then we had the really like the old school cards on there, so let's say $300. Yes, a big deal because I am very frugal, and that's a week's rent, right? It's actually at a really nice place for me. Call me whatever, but I'm like, I just like, $300 in Airbnb in Texas gets you actually a lot. So, that being said, it's like, okay, well, this energy's been thrown and that's out the gate. So what am I going to do with this energy? Am I going to push it towards getting another camera, right? Because something's been taken from me, right? Somebody has put spell work out there trying to affect my how I live on the day to day and how I am able to make money. So now I have this ball of energy that they sent me. So what do I do with it? What do I want out of this situation? Do I want a better camera? Do I want a different? Do I want a GoPro? Do I like, because this, they have given me Like it's like somebody depositing something in your bank account. You know, she didn't make a withdrawal. She made a deposit. And now that's energy. I could take it on and I could go freak out. I could go look around looking for this. But you know what I think I'm going to do? Is buy a scratch off. Yeah, I think I'm going to direct this energy. I'm going to take this little ball of energy that she wanted to take away from me, right? And I'm going to go get a scratch off. I don't do the numbers and stuff, you know, blah, 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 blah. Like that's just a waste of energy and it's luck and time and all that other stuff. I think a lot of people really get in my field, really get into lottery and stuff like that. But because I'm so open, like I can't really do that. Right. And I don't even know if that, like, again, the universe karmically, if I don't want anything in my possession that does not belong to me. I am not going to do magic on something that does not belong to me because it will be ripped away from me tenfold. So I love and I'm content with the things that I have, right? And I buy quality over quantity, right? And I value that and I value less versus more, right? Because I used to have so much. I didn't even know what to do. It was such a blessing for my mother to steal all of my money from my bank account so that I couldn't make my payments to where I was keeping my storage items. And I lost everything, baby photos, right? I don't have baby photos. My bra tags when I was younger, I lost all of that, right? By the way, anybody that's listening, I know you are. Like, she literally is on tape, like going and draining my bank account, and then went back and tried to like get it put back. And this is how I was able to keep her away from me because I told her if she ever came near me again that I would take her license because she's on tape. Taking the money from my bank account. So if anybody wants to know that's listening, so yeah, here we go. Is now I'm going to, like I said, I take other people's energy that are doing beauty spells and I send them to my hair follicles, right? Like I didn't know that, like, again, like my chipped tooth and my hair falling out. Like my hair was so long and thick, and I didn't know it was about from my like family. So here's the addendum. Here we go. If somebody's throwing some magic at you, let's go ahead and take it, be a kid in the candy store, and alchemize that shit. So, what do you want? Say thank you. Thank you for the energy that I didn't have to generate myself. Apparently, that camera was not the right one. So, how about I ask the universe, what is a better option for me? Maybe I do need a GoPro, right? Maybe put something in my way. We're going to sit here in the vortex and we're going to manifest whatever that person took from us, because obviously there was something better out there, right? Obviously. And I got the one thing that I really needed back that was the most important to me. So can I let go of the 200, 300? I can, because it's going to come back and it's going to come back tenfold. And obviously, if that could be taken again, if it can be taken away, then it meant that anytime something is taken away from me, I know there's always something like crazy better around the corner. I promise you. But it's getting you, this person is trying to get me to lower my vibration so that their other attacks can hit, right? And so if I was like, oh my God, and fuck that, I'm going to go back and I'm going to this, that, and the other, blah, 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 right? I can already feel my vibration lowering, and that's where they want me, right? So I'm just going to stay high vibing and go by like a scratch up. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I am going to alchemize it. And I just wanted to like tack that on because it's ongoing, and it's not just me, right? I'm not the only one out there. And so if you're still here at the end, please drop, what do I want you to drop? Please drop an owl in the comment section, please. All right. I love you all. And yeah, we'll see you on the flip. Bye.